Hi, I'm Sarah with the Volusia County Public Library System, coming to you from the Ormond Beach Regional Library. And in celebration of our summer reading program's Tales with Tales theme, I'm going to show you how to crochet this pet bandana. Now you can look in the description box below to see where you can get a free copy of this pattern for yourself. We're going to be crocheting into the back loops, which is going to give it that ridged effect, which we've done before. I'm also going to show you how to carry along your colors as we go, rather than fastening off at the end of each row, so that's something a little bit different. We're going to create the tie that goes across the top, and the cute little tassels that go around the bottom edge. Now mine is a smaller size because I have a couple papillons at home, but if you've got a medium or a larger size pet, I'm going to show you how you can customize it to fit their size. I'd also like to encourage you to swing by one of our branches to check out our selection of crochet books, or you can visit us online at volusialibrary.org. So whenever you're ready, why don't you grab a hook and some yarn, and let's go get started. Okay, so today we're going to get started on our crochet pet bandana, and it will be working into the back loops, and you're going to have 2 rows of each color as you go along. We're going to be carrying along our colors along the top of the work, which is really nice because we put the ties along the top so it covers up where you're carrying the yarn along, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So it kind of hides that. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. Carrying along our yarn is a new thing usually we've fastened off. So when you're carrying along your yarn to keep it from getting tangled, I like to have one coming in from one side and one color coming in from the other. And that way when you're turning your work, they don't get tangled up. So that's just a tip from me to you. So I'm going to start by creating a slip knot, and the instructions say that we need to chain 2. And then in the second chain from your hook, we're going to put 3 single crochets. So skip the first one. Into the second chain, you're going to put your 3 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And then into the back loop of the first stitch. Remember, there's the front loop that's closer to you, and then the back loop kind of sinks down a little bit. Get into the back loop only and put 1 single crochet. Go into the back loop of the next stitch and do another single crochet. And in the last one, we're going to put 2 single crochets in the back loop. But we're also going to be changing color. So we're going to put 1 single crochet like we normally would. And then for our second one, we're going to pull up a loop and we're going to hold it. We're going to bring in our second color and try to make a little loop over top of your finger like that. You're going to take that little loop and put it on your hook and pull that through the 2 loops to complete out your single crochet. Then we're going to make sure you have, well, yarn's all tangled, the working end of your white and chain 1. If you want at this point, you can kind of tug on your working red to bring that other single crochet back in line, because sometimes it gets a little loose. All right, we're going to turn our work. And then what we're going to do is put 2 single crochets in the back loop of the very first stitch. So the one right here, it kind of gets hidden. Back loop, put 2 single crochets. And then put a single crochet into each of the remaining stitches, the back loops. So there's 1, there's 2, and 3. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to put 1 single crochet in the first back loop and in each loop until you hit the very last stitch. So 1 single crochet going all the way across. Okay. So now we're at our very last stitch. Do you see the little V? And remember I said we were only going to do 2 rows of each color before we change. So this is the end of our row, so we need to change color. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in this very last stitch. The first will be regular, and then the second we're going to pull up and hold. We're going to drop our white, we're going to grab the working end of our red and pull that through the 2 loops to complete the single crochet. We're going to chain 1. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work and start the first row of the red. So this will get 2 single crochets in the back loop of the first stitch. and then 1 single crochet in the back loop of each of the remaining stitches. So what's kind of nice about this pattern is you don't really have to keep count. You just have to remember where to add those 2 single crochets. Otherwise, you're only ever doing 1. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're on the second row of our red. We're going to go into the back loop of each of the stitches and put 1 single crochet until you hit the very last one. So I'm not even keeping count. Just going until I know I've reached my last stitch. Okay, so here's my last little V. I'm going to go into the back loop, and this one's going to get the 2 single crochets. But in the second one, we need to change out colors, right? So we'll drop the red, we'll bring in the white, yarn over and pull it through the loops. Chain 1 and turn. So I'm going to do this one more time just so you can kind of get a feel for it. But basically, guys, how it works is that anytime you reach this side where you're carrying along your colors, that's going to be where you put your 2 single crochets. So you're going to put 2 single crochets with the start of each color and 2 single crochets when you end each color. And that's when you're going to change color when you hit this side. So we'll do 2 single crochets in the back loop of the first stitch and 1 single crochet in each of the remaining stitches. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then 1 single crochet into each of the stitches heading all the way back, all in the back loops, remember, because it gives it that neat texture. And it's really important to remember your 2 single crochets at this top edge, because if you don't, you're not going to get your triangle to form. That's what's going to make it grow as the shape of the bandana. So you got to keep an eye on that. All right, so I'm at the side where all the action's happening. That's my last stitch. So remember, our first and last stitches are always going to get the 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2, and hold that second one, because we're going to pull in our other color to change it back to the red. We'll chain 1 and turn. So that's how you're going to continue this project, and you're going to go until you hit the length that's best for your pet. Now, according to the directions, if you have a small-sized pet, you're going to want this top edge to measure to be about 10 inches. So bringing in a little tape measure will help here with that. So you'll measure 10 inches for a small, 15 inches for a medium, or 22 inches for a large. Now it's customizable too, so if your pet doesn't fall into that category or you're not sure where they fit, you can measure the circumference of their neck, or you can measure how long that their collar is, and that'll give you a gauge on how long to continue going to create the length of your triangular scarf bandana. So once you reach that point, come back and meet me. I'll show you how to fasten off these 2 strands and then how to continue on with the project. All right, so I've made my bandana about the size I want. Mine is about the small length that's mentioned in the pattern. And I've cut off my yarn tails, and I'm going to show you here how to end with the 2 loose strands. So basically grab them both and do a chain to kind of, you're going to be basically creating a knot with them. And then what you can do is cut it even shorter if you want and pull that through, and that knot's the end. So then what you can do is go ahead and weave in your ends the best you can. I recommend kind of in this area because we're going to be burying it. So weave in the ends, and I'll meet you back and show you how to add the tie that goes across the top. So I've just woven in my ends, and you want to make sure that the right side of your project is facing you, and the right side is going to look a little bit better. You can tell when you turn it around, you're going to see like parts of the other color popping through. That's considered the wrong side. So whichever side you don't see that, keep that coming forward. And you're going to take your next color that you want your tie to be, and you're going to chain up 20. Okay, and then we're going to attach it to cover up all these strands that we carried along. So what you're going to do is kind of keep your working yarn back behind you, and you're going to insert your hook into the very first bit of yarn that you can get into. Just try to get under multiple stitches so it's nice and secure. You're going to yarn over and pull through and make a single crochet. And you're going to evenly space your single crochets going across the top edge of your project. You just want to make sure that you get underneath those yarn strands that you carried along. I found that I got about 1 single crochet into each row of color. So because each white section has 2, I get 2 single crochets in the white, and then 2 single crochets into the red section, all underneath and encapsulating the loose strands that you carried across. So continue single crocheting all the way across, and when you reach the end, you're going to chain 20, and I'll show you how to finish off the ties. So I've just chained my 20 chains after I've gone along my top edge. I'm going to chain 1 extra because that is going to be pulled tight to secure it. Okay, and then what you can do is weave in your long tails back down into the chain, go down and maybe come back up, and it'll keep it in place and keep that nice and strong at the end. Okay, but next I'm going to show you how to add on your tassels. So once again, with the same right side facing you, you're going to take your first color. Now it's easy to see where you're going to put your tassels on one edge of your project, where you can see the tops of your single crochet stitches. I found if you went into every other stitch and put a tassel, it made it nice and balanced. But then I was like, well, okay, what do I do on the other side? Because this is where we chained 1 and turned our work, so there's really no stitches to go into. But I found that if you want it to kind of balance with the other side, it worked well for me if I just put 1 tassel into each section of color. So what you need to do to create your tassels is cut 5-inch long segments of each color that you want to use for your tassel. And each tassel is going to consist of 2 of those pieces of yarn. You're going to lay it over your finger to fold it in half and create a loop, okay? I'm going to come underneath and come into one of the sections of the red, which if it's the first or second row, it really doesn't matter. You're going to put that loop over your hook and you're going to pull it through. You want to pull it through enough so that you've got enough space, because what you're going to do is yarn over with those 4 strands and pull them all through that loop. And then you're going to pull that tight to make your tassel. Okay? And you can trim these if they didn't come through evenly. You can see one is a little bit longer for me. You can always go back and trim that when you're done. So then I would take my next color, fold it in half again, and I'd come underneath into one of the sections of the white, whichever is easiest for you to get into. Put your yarn over, pull it through, get a nice size space so that you can yarn over and pull all 4 of those strands through. And you can use your fingers to help make that hole a little bit bigger. You'll find a way that works good for you, and pull it tight. Okay, so you're going to do that with all of your tassels, and you can choose whatever colors you want. You can mix them up if you don't want to do solid colors. But like I said, once you get to the other side, it's a little bit easier. Just every other stitch, put a tassel in your alternating colors. Now, if you didn't enjoy the carrying over aspect of the color change, and it was causing you stress, we don't want that. So you can always do this pattern in a solid color or in a variegated color that changes on its own, and then you don't have to worry about carrying your colors along the top. You'll just turn your work, you'll put 2 single crochets in, and you don't even need to worry about changing the color. So this is another option for you if you were struggling with the color change and you didn't want this effect. Okay, so those are a couple examples for you. So you can create endless color combinations for different holidays, special occasions, or even sporting events, so your best friend can take part in the celebrations too. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can find more videos like this on Volusia Library's YouTube channel. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.